Let's say you were able to set up Echidna and Medusa, but let's say you want to dig deeper, so you want to actually figure out what the invariants are, and you also want to add more. The first place in which to start will be the properties.md file, which was written by Antonio and follows the guideline from Sartora about specifying these invariants. You'll see that for most of these we have a green checkmark, which means we wrote them and we know they're working as intended. That doesn't mean that you can't break them. Maybe you're going to be able to break them if you run Medusa or Echidna for days. So it is worth checking that. But there also are some invariants that we didn't write or that we may be missing. And so my advice is for you to kind of dig deep into this document, understand kind of what we may have forgotten, and then write your own properties. And the best place in which to start is on the properties.sol file, which will show you how these properties are written. So this is basically where you will write these properties. And then if you want to instead add them, the best place to start is the Echidna tester contract, which, as you'll see, has a constructor that sets up some basic actors and basically the system. If you've read some of our scaffolding for tests, this is basically the same thing. And then we have these three separate contracts that you definitely want to check, where we're going to have the asserts, which is simply just utilities. So you'll see that there's not much going on there, it's just utilities. The Echidna properties, which is where the properties you wrote are actually hooked to Echidna. So again, if you want to add a global property, you will first write it in the properties file, and then you would add a line here on Echidna properties as well, so that Echidna actually tests against them. And then if you want to go even deeper, you will go in the target functions, which is basically the set of functions that are actually being called, such as liquidate, redeem collateral, open CDP, etc., etc. And what you'll see here is that the setup is fairly convoluted, so it's going to take you some time to fully understand this. But at the end of the day, this is the function that Echidna calls. There's a bunch of checks to clamp the values, and then there's going to be something that looks like this, where it's like actor.proxy, blah, 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 do the operation. And so this is the real operation being done, and it's done on a separate contract called actor. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be something like proxy, and you should be able to find it if you search a little bit longer for all of these dependencies. You'll see that there's this actor.sol, which has this proxy function, which basically allows it to perform a bunch of operations. And that's really what is going on, is each actor is effectively a separate contract. And that allows us to have kind of these multi-level effects. But again, making a long story short, once you have this Echidna function, you have your actor, then you can have this before and after setup, which we have, that basically checks all of these variables so that you can have more nuanced invariants, where you can have an invariant for each CDP, you can have an invariant for liquidation only when they happen, you can have an invariant for delta values, delta of balances, delta of storage values, etc. And that's how you will go from these more vague general invariants, right? These ones are basically the global ones, to actually invariants that are checked on a granular level after each operation and with details that pertain to that specific operation. So hopefully that helps you get started, and then send us all the questions. We're going to do a workshop on this as well.